Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. The stock that we're going to talk about today is Rezolve AI. The stock just can't get out of its own way. The stock today down about 7%. In today's episode, we will explain why that is, what is happening, the news today. We're going to look at what the short sellers are doing, give you a broad update on the stock. And I'm going to share my opinions on Rezolve. I mean, at this point, it's getting pretty ridiculous. Okay, from a valuation perspective, from a sentiment perspective, and what the stock, is showing us on a technical basis. So we have a banger for you today. All I ask is you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. If you guys want to come join the trading community, check that link out down below in the description of today's episode as well. So this is an easy one. Let's start here. Okay. So you really want to separate what's happening right now into two categories. Number one, what's happening with the stock. No, rephrase that. What's happening with the business and what's happening with the stock market. Okay. So if you're thinking about the stock market, what's happening there? Recession concerns. Wall Street is scared because they think we're heading into a recession. I would say I think that's unlikely because, ever since 2008, we really don't have recessions in this country, because to get a typical recession in the way that you would think, you need to see many different sectors of this economy actually go into a recession at the same time. And I don't think we're seeing that right now. Now, the government being shut down is problematic because Wall Street, they need to be cradled like babies and reassured like, your first girlfriend. Okay, that's how Wall Street operates. And we have zero assurance on anything with the government being shut down because we're not getting economic data. Okay, that is a problem for the AI trade, for the risk on trade. Why do you think small caps have been selling off since roughly October 8th, right around when the government shut down? Because the economy was already not in a great place, Wall Street thought, and boom, now you have a drag on the economy. Now, people not getting paid $700,000, $1 million, whatever it is, like that sucks, but that's not a recession catalyst. What has made Wall Street more nervous in recent days and why the selling has, amplified in a lot of the small cap, high growth areas, and the recession fears overall have went up, is the air traffic situation. Delaying thousands of flights a day or canceling them is a big problem. People can't get from A to B. Think about freight, UPS, FedEx, all the freight that, is transported via planes. Okay. It's hard to know exactly how much damage is being done, but Wall Street had an expectation of negative 60,000 jobs on Friday. I think you were probably like negative 20,000, negative 30,000 maybe. Probably not as bad as feared. And that's the average consensus. So some on Wall Street are like negative 80,000, negative 100,000. Some are negative 20,000, more in line with what I would think is reasonable. So if that's the expectation and we don't have any data to confirm nor deny that, Wall Street's going to trade like that is the actual number. So there's no surprise why recession vulnerable areas have sold off, like Rezolve. Now, that's the broader markets situation that we're faced with right now. And that has not helped Rezolve at all. Okay, it's the main reason why the stock has fallen. When I look at the business, not the stock, the business, what has actually changed? Well, in the last month, Rezolve has hired former executives from Microsoft, and they've recruited some people. That's it. Nothing else has happened. We haven't had any really good or bad news in a month. Now, that, with this situation happening in the broader markets, the not getting any news at all is a problem. Okay. Wall Street, again, they like to be cradled like babies. They want to be reassured in Rezolve, especially because Rezolve is a little unique because they are a UK based company, so they don't have to report every quarter. So it's not like Rezolve is about to report earnings. They technically don't have to report earnings until April. So you don't get a lot of updates. Now, Rezolve posts a lot to their X account, but they don't share things that are meaningful for the business all too often. Pretty rare to actually see an important update on X. Now, what I did on their PR today, Rezolve AI posted this. They said, happening now at Web Summit, live from Lisbon, Rezolve AI CEO Real Dan Wagner is on the main stage delivering his keynote. Quote, AI at the checkout, promise, perils, and the path forward. That's it. No new information. Nothing new was said there. It moves the needle zero for the stock in a good or bad direction. It's a non-event. It's nothing. Well, I commented, tagged Dan Wagner in this, and said shareholders want one of three things. Number one, updated current ARR. If you're not going to report earnings every quarter, then you should probably at least come out every quarter and share where the business is at, where the ARR targets are at, or where, it's at right now. Okay. That's fair. The stock would really love to hear they've hit 200 million in ARR or whatever the number is. I think we would all agree. Number two, a contract press release. Wall Street wants to hear about contracts. They know that Rezolve is not, afraid of putting out a press release, but Wall Street gets a little nervous when they see all these bullshit press releases, but they don't see any real impactful ones. So that would be big for the stock. And number three, Rezolve to start reporting quarterly. If Rezolve would just report quarterly, that would make a big deal for, Wall Street's sake. You get more frequent updates. Now, we actually reached out in the trading community to Rezolve before last earnings because we were trying to figure out when earnings were going to be. Robinhood had all these estimates of, August and October and November, and we just didn't have any clue. So we reached out to the, PR people at Rezolve, and they actually said that they are planning on reporting on a quarterly basis next year. Great. Haven't heard anything about that, but hopefully that happens. Hopefully they keep their word, and that is what transpires. Now, I also write in this post, I say, this is why Rezolve trades at only 2x sales, or, projected ARR for 2026, same thing. I say, until you guys do one of these three things, please stop the PR. It looks bad when Rezolve doesn't share contract PRs, but do other PRs on a regular basis. Thanks. This comment has 23 likes, 2 reposts, and 3 comments underneath it. This guy says, trust me, bro, ain't cutting it anymore. Austin here says, couldn't agree more. Sam Altman says, they don't care or give AF. No real news in the past 3 months already. Pretty fair comments, okay, from an outside perspective. So go to Rezolve's X account and click on the last post. Go to my comment, and if you'd like to, hit the like or comment, okay? Because this is going to send another message to Rezolve of exactly what they need to do to protect shareholder equity. Now let's circle back. What has happened with the business? Absolutely nothing. So how does that change my thoughts around the business? It doesn't. Okay. I have to revert back to valuations and expectations that I have for the company and prior management guidance. Okay. I'm going to assume that things are largely unchanged. Business is businessing as usual. And they're still on track to hit 500 million in ARR next year. If that's the case, the stock now has a market cap of just over $1 billion. That means the company is trading at about 2 times 2026 sales. That's worse than even the bear case for the stock. Like that is a crazy low valuation. I think there's a lot of things going on, as we mentioned, what's happening in the broader markets. I also think there's just not a lot of attention on the stock. There's not a lot of retail that knows about the stock. Wall Street doesn't know about the stock. Agentic commerce is a brand new thing. And, it's going to take some time for Wall Street to even know that Rezolve exists. But in my view, when you're buying a company at 2 times sales that is projecting to grow 333% next year, it's pretty hard to lose money with an investment like that, unless there's crazy dilution or something else happens, which the company has over $200 million of cash on their balance sheet last we knew. We'll see if we ever get an update. So those are kind of my thoughts around it. Now, if you are someone that owns Rezolve and you're super emotional, just look at the comment section of this video. There's a lot of people that are emotional, that bought the stock, that regret it, blah, blah, blah. You need to ask yourself one thing, right? Do you want to sell the stock or not? If you want to sell the stock, what I've found is best to do, if I've ever wanted to sell a stock, is to sell it and never look at it ever again. Okay? Because you have to accept that Rezolve could be a $20 stock in 3 months. If you sell it and it goes to $20, don't kick yourself. That was your choice that you made. Okay? What I struggle with is I can't find another stock that is even close to the valuation of Rezolve. So the thought process that I have is, is the company going to hit their targets and guidance? I think so. If they hit those targets, wow, what a steal of a deal Rezolve is. But even at this point, if they miss their targets, they could miss 500 million in ARR by 50%. They could only be at 250 million next year, and the stock's still only at 4 times sales. It's still a crazy kind of valuation. Now, the stock itself is one PR on a contract, one, positive piece of news away from going up 20+%, in my opinion. Just based on the selling in the stock, the sentiment that is super depressed. And look at this, the RSI is at 32. Like, you are very oversold. In fact, the last time Rezolve was this oversold was back here in March and early April 2025. What happened? That was the stock's low. And then the stock proceeded to rally, over 100%, 130%. Like, the stock could be a $15 or $20 stock right now and have a reasonable valuation, like kind of trading in line with other AI stocks. But they need to do one of those 3 things that I mentioned. Any one of those 3 things that I mentioned would cause the stock likely to go back into the $5-6 range, if not higher than that. And that's the problem at this point that a lot of people face, is they're watching the stock fall and they don't understand what's going on, and they think the stock sucks when really nothing has changed. So you should make your own decision in ultimately what you want to do, but that's the way I'm looking at it. I don't sell stocks that their valuations, collapse if nothing happened. It's very unusual to have a stock collapse like Rezolve from $8.45 down to $3.51 and absolutely nothing happened. Literally nothing has happened. Rezolve has a $15 price target from an analyst. The lowest price target on the stock is $7 a share. Analysts haven't even adjusted price targets at all because nothing has changed to warrant them to do so. It's very strange what is happening with Rezolve. Okay. Now, you could chalk it all up to what's happening in the broader markets, and I think that's fair for a lot of the selling. But again, I think the other side of it is there's not a lot of attention on Rezolve. Not a lot of people know the company even exists. Okay. One thing that I will point out as well, because we don't have any interesting option activity today, is the short interest. The short interest has actually been coming down and staying low for a while. It's at 8.76%. That's not really high. Like, Wall Street is not very bearish on the stock. It just literally cannot get out of its own way. If you look at StockTwit, something I like to look at to gauge sentiment, sentiment in Rezolve is bearish at 34. Pretty damn bearish. Message volume is low at 43. Participation ratio is high at 83. So people are just bearish on, Rezolve, right? There's not a lot of people talking about Rezolve, and that continues to be a major problem in terms of the stock performance. Now, looking ahead, obviously, if the company listens to investor feedback and does any of the any one of the three things that I talked about, that's going to cause some pretty significant upside for the stock at this point. Really, any good news with the kind of valuation we're looking at on Rezolve is going to cause a pretty explosive move to the upside. Okay, you ultimately want to get back above this trend line here. But also, the government looks like it might reopen tomorrow night-ish, I would say. If that happens, great. Then you should be getting economic data later this week. Thursday and Friday, you should be getting the retail sales report, the CPI report, initial jobless claims, maybe even the jobs report that we missed on Friday that did not come out might be coming out by Friday morning. Little uncertainty around that. We obviously don't know the timeline on prior data sets. But I'm willing to make the argument that the economy is probably not as bad as Wall Street is fearing. If that's the case, then you're looking at some pretty significant upside for small caps. And mix that with a CPI report that's probably going to come in pretty good. That is a recipe for good things in this area of the market, specifically, again, for Rezolve. If the government doesn't open, then boom, problem continues. But once you get the government open, once Wall Street can be cradled like a baby again and have a clear understanding of what's happening in the economy, then, that in and of itself is positive. Then, if things are better than feared, that really is positive. Then, if CPI comes in better than expected, boom, you have your cocktail for a year-end rally. And there's been a lot of fear around AI as well. SoftBank today sold their entire NVIDIA stake. I don't think that means anything. I mean, NVIDIA is a $5 trillion company. Your money is better invested elsewhere at this point. People are trying to grab at straws here. Okay, Michael Burry, he's not a great investor. He had one big trade, in 2008, but look at his performance ever since. He just doesn't do well, trying to grab at straws there as well. Like AMD's CEO Lisa Su said that AI demand is insatiable. They can't produce enough, and that's AMD. That demand compute is on fire, and she expects that market to grow to over $1 trillion by 2030. AI is alive and well. There's no question there. The question is, how is the economy doing from a broader market perspective? And the question for Rezolve is, when the hell do we get good news? When do we get anything good? I think the stock at this point would literally take anything good and run with it in a big way. But as far as what's actually changed with the business, absolutely nothing. It's very unusual to have a stock come down this much I mean, from the highs at $8.45 to come down almost 59% with literally zero news, kind of a head scratcher. Okay. Now, as far as my position in Resolve, I have 33,550 shares. Times that by $3.50, the current share price of the stock. You're looking at exposure about $117,425. People ask me all the time, what am I doing with Resolve? Absolutely nothing. If the stock falls even more, I'll be looking to buy more until the business, something changes. If something actually is wrong and Resolve like lowers guidance or something, that would change the calculus, right? That would be something that would be worth selling the stock over. But people try to think, as Warren Buffett said, that stocks prices tell you what's happening with the business. That is absolutely not true. Stock prices do not tell you anything about the business. And too many people get that wrong, where everyone thinks if a stock is ripping straight up, that means the business is doing well. No, that's not what that means. If the stock is crashing, that means the business is crashing. That is not what that means. Okay, so again, just an overview here on Resolve, what's been happening lately, and it's honestly nothing has been happening lately. So let me know your thoughts on all of this down below in the comment section. Do you still own Resolve? Are you buying at this point? Are you sitting tight? What are you doing in your position? Let me know that info down below in the comment section. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it. Come join the trading community if you would like to. We do have a new video coming out on a brand new AI stock that could hold some pretty serious upside potential in the next video coming out at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But that's it. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.